Welcome to Hannity Tonight. The Obama White House has been busted. There is now undeniable evidence that they, from the president on down, lied to you, the American people, about the lethal attacks in Benghazi that killed 4 innocent Americans, and that they engaged in a cover-up after that lie. And that's how we begin this very busy news night, which is why tonight I'm calling out the man who will do and say absolutely anything, all in an effort to advance the political agenda of the 44th President of the United States.
When I go and stand up in the podium and in front of the White House press corps, I never lie. I never say something that I know is not true.
Oh, really? It's him, White House Press Secretary Jay Carney. He's now become nothing short of a complete and utter laughingstock. And it continued today when Carney was asked whether or not the administration will finally admit that this was a premeditated attack in Benghazi. Watch this.
Was it a video? Was it protest?
You should ask the intelligence community what their current assessment of what happened was there. What we know is that there was an attack, that there were extremists involved, and 4 Americans were killed. We have been saying that from the beginning. Again, if you look at the language provided at the time by the IC to members of Congress and the White House, that's what Ambassador Rice stuck to.
All right, now that duck, weave, and cover routine was just the beginning, because Carney went even further by attempting to accuse Republicans and even the Fox News channel of unfairly politicizing this horrific tragedy. Now, here's an exchange that he had with our very own Ed Henry today.
You were being cautious. You're saying there's an investigation here. That's 9/12. Why then on 9/14 is Ben Rhodes writing an email that is making judgments that this was inspired by a video? Why is it not, hey, we just don't know, we're investigating it?
Do you
Why not
need a
say
copy
that?
of the CIA talking
I've
points?
seen them.
I can
You
get
can read them
to
out
you.
all you want. Go ahead.
The only thing in that email that refers to Benghazi is a cut and paste from the talking points, which, much to your disappointment and your boss's disappointment, turned out to be produced by the CIA.
All right, let me clear something up for you, Mr. Carney. As the Rhodes email proves, the president and his top aides were the ones that were concerned about the political fallout of this terrorist attack. Now, they didn't want their commander-in-chief's epic foreign policy failures to impact the election just 2 months later, period. And when it comes to our coverage, well, I would think that the self-proclaimed most transparent administration in history would agree the American people, and especially the families that lost loved ones, deserve to know the truth. But today's pathetic display at the daily press briefing, well, that comes on the heels of yesterday's disgraceful performance. And that's when Jay Carney said with a straight face that Ben Rhodes and his email about Susan Rice's Sunday show appearances was not about Benghazi. Listen to this lie.
That document that we're talking about today was about the overall environment in the Muslim world. I can say it again and again, and I know you can keep asking again and again. This document was not about Benghazi.
See what I mean? That's called selling your soul for political purposes. Now, this is beyond ridiculous. The whole nation was focused on the attacks on the Benghazi consulate 3 days earlier before that memo. They knew this would be the focus of the interviews with Susan Rice on the 5 Sunday shows. And yet Carney, he goes before the nation with a straight face and his little petulant, condescending manner to tell a bald-faced lie. And this merely continues a pattern of lies for this administration, especially when it comes to Benghazi. Now, let's go back a few months. Do you remember when Carney told us again and again and again that the White House had nothing to do with altering the talking points on this deadly terror attack? Remember this?
The CIA drafted these talking points and redrafted these talking points. The fact that there are inputs is always the case in a process like this. But the only edits made by anyone here at the White House were stylistic and non-substantive. First of all, the CIA was the agency that made changes to the edits and to the talking points and then produced the talking points.
Just a lie, a provable lie, 100% not true, and there's now an arsenal of smoking guns to prove it. Oh, but there's more. Carney also perpetuated the lie that a YouTube video, that was to blame for the death of 4 Americans. They knew this wasn't true also.
This is a fairly volatile situation, and it is in response not to United States policy, not to, obviously, the administration, not to the American people. It is in response to a video. We find the video that has been so offensive to Muslims to be disgusting and reprehensible. Reaction to the video was the precipitating factor in protests and violence across the region.
Hey, remember Baghdad Bob? He'd be proud. Now, sadly, Time magazine's former star reporter also tried to rewrite history when he said this.
Were we trying to play down the fact that it was an act of terror? Again, a hollow claim when the president himself called it an act of terror, when the talking points referred to the participation of extremists, and I think everybody understands what extremists means.
No, he did not. Now, this presidential mouthpiece, he's either delusional or a really well-trained pathological liar, you know, someone who gets caught in a lie, but instead of telling the truth, admitting it, he simply decides to enter this Alice in Wonderland world in which, let's see, up is down, north is south, white is black, black is white, lies are truth, and truth are lies. But keep in mind, this is just the latest Obama administration scandal that Carney has tried to cover up. Now, we just laid out all his Benghazi lies. Now, let's look at what he told the American people. Remember the IRS enemies list where they tried to harass, intimidate, and silence conservatives? This is what he told you then.
I'm making clear now that when activity in Cincinnati, because it had been reported already when I answered that question, was very specifically about, as I just said, lying IRS employees in Cincinnati improperly scrutinizing 501c4 organizations by using words like Tea Party in quotes and Patriot.
And then when it came to selling Obamacare, well, Mr. Propaganda, well, he promised this.
If you have insurance provided by your employer that you like, nothing changes for you. The president was clear about a basic fact. If you had insurance that you liked on the individual market and you wanted to keep that insurance through 2010, 11, 12, 13, and in perpetuity if you wanted it and it was available, you could.
Now, it's worth recalling that our founders and framers, they believed that the standard in the executive branch, that was supposed to be different, higher than the legislative and judicial branches, that the integrity of the president mattered almost as much as anything, and that misleading the citizenry, well, that was an act of betrayal. And you know what? They were right. They were right about that and much, much more, about so much more. Now, it matters in America when a president and members of his administration lie and lie and lie repeatedly. You know, in the final year of World War II, President Franklin Roosevelt, he ordered a blessing by John Adams carved on the stone fireplace of the state dining room where it can now be seen today. Now, this blessing comes from something that Adams wrote to his wife on November the 2nd, 1800. It says this. It says, "I pray heaven to bestow the best of blessings on this house and all that shall hereafter inhabit it. May none but honest and wise men ever rule under this roof." Well, today in America, a dishonest, unwise man rules under the roof of the White House. And John Adams, he's got to be spinning in his grave.